My dear souls, allow me, Edgar Cayce, to unveil a profound truth about human nature and the hidden springs of personal power. In this intricate dance of relationships, when the harmony is broken and one feels wronged, the conventional wisdom often guides us toward a path of immediate emotional outpouring, of tears and protest, of longing for explanation. Yet I have witnessed through countless observations of the human spirit that this very path, however natural it may feel, can subtly relinquish the most potent strength you possess. What if the most profound way to restore balance, to genuinely move forward, is not through a stormy reaction, but through an utterly unexpected, serene recentering of your own being? There lies a quiet, dignified confusion you can introduce, a form of self-mastery that too few ever truly discover. If you seek to reclaim your inner peace and influence in ways you never thought possible, stay with me, for the secrets of genuine self-possession in the face of perceived slights are about to be unveiled. This is not about manipulation. It is about awakening to your own magnificent, unassailable worth. When faced with another's missteps, particularly those that sting the heart, many expect an emotional spectacle. They anticipate the floodgates of tears, the sharp edge of a raised voice, the exhaustive length of texts filled with grievances, or even the dramatic public declaration on social media platforms. These are the predictable responses, the familiar landscape they have prepared for. But imagine, if you will, the profound disquiet that overtakes someone when met instead with a grace they hadn't foreseen, a silence they hadn't accounted for, and a self-control that speaks volumes without uttering a single syllable. This, my friends, is the strategy that truly throws one off their guard, shattering their preconceived notions and the fragile sense of control they believed they held over your emotional state. It's a fundamental misunderstanding many carry, believing their actions can solely dictate your emotional climate. The immediate impulse when hurt is often to react, to lash out from a place of deep emotion. This feeling, this yearning for the other person to grasp the depth of your pain and the sting of betrayal, is undeniably human and profoundly natural. However, this immediate, unfiltered reaction, this open display of how deeply they have affected you, subtly empowers them. It signals that they retain a tether to your inner world, that they can still reach within and disturb your peace with the flick of a finger. The moment another soul perceives this enduring control over your emotional well-being, they may inadvertently come to believe they still hold sway over your spirit. Therefore, the truest act of liberation, the most disorienting response you can offer, is not merely to react, but to respond, a distinction laden with power and intention. Consider the stark contrast between these two modes. Reaction is immediate, an uncontrolled burst born of raw emotion, often unfiltered and impulsive. Response, however, is a deliberate choice, an act of conscious self-possession that emanates profound power. Instead of engaging in a heated argument, you embrace the quiet strength of your own silence. Rather than pouring out paragraphs of pain and accusation, you allow your absence, the simple, undeniable fact of your non-participation, to articulate the boundary that has been drawn. Instead of desperately striving to prove your inherent worth, you remember it intrinsically, holding it within yourself and carrying yourself with the unwavering confidence of a woman who simply refuses to endure disrespect. This deeply unsettling tranquility is precisely what men, long conditioned to expect a tumultuous storm, are ill-equipped to comprehend. The common understanding suggests that a man can readily navigate the complexities of yelling, protracted arguments, and even tears, for these, in their essence, are often seen as residual signs of lingering affection, of a struggle for the bond that signifies you still value him enough to fight for it. But what truly unravels a man's composure, what shakes him to his very core, is the deliberate withdrawal of a woman from the trivial drama, her unwavering commitment to carrying herself with resolute dignity. Such a woman becomes an enigma, a beautiful and powerful mystery. Imagine for a moment he extends a call or a text after a hurtful exchange, fully anticipating a heated verbal tennis match. Instead, he is met with a serene, perhaps even brief acknowledgement, like, I appreciate the clarity you've offered. Please take care. And then a complete, unceremonious moving on. There is no relentless chasing, no endless stream of probing questions, no desperate pleading for explanations. You allow him the uncomfortable solitude of grappling with his own actions, permitting him to ponder the unsettling ease with which you seemingly detached. You allow him the disorienting act of overthinking your sudden, unwavering focus on your own well-being. This is crucial because, in the tapestry of human understanding, men frequently absorb profound lessons through direct experience, not through protracted intellectual explanations. You needn't recount his wrongdoings 100 times over, nor must you labor to convince him of your inherent value by desperately proving yourself. The profound shift occurs when he internalizes your non-reaction, when he perceives that you have resolutely refused to engage in his game, that you are actively choosing to elevate your spirit rather than sinking into entanglement. This, precisely, is when the true weight of his choices descends upon him, and a lingering thought begins to form. Did I just lose something profoundly valuable? Believe me, this dawning realization delivers a lesson far more indelible than any verbal confrontation could ever hope to convey. When a man orchestrates your suffering, he often implicitly convinces himself that your connection to him outweighs his connection to you. He presumes that his absence will inevitably disrupt your very foundation, that you will inevitably unravel, sitting in anxious anticipation of his return. But the truth, the stunning truth, is what he least expects: for you to ascend higher, to blossom into an even more vibrant and potent version of yourself, entirely independent of his presence. This, therefore, underscores the most profound action you can undertake. Channel all your vital energy into your own remarkable glow-up, rather than allowing yourself to be ensnared by the pain he may have inflicted. For, as a seer into the hidden currents of human motivation, I observe that men often operate through the lens of ego, convinced that they reside at the very core of your emotional cosmos. Thus, when they choose to distance themselves or cause you harm, they invariably search for tangible proof that their departure has carved a cavernous void in your existence. This latent desire is often what propels them to subtly monitor your social interactions, to delicately inquire about your well-being through mutual acquaintances, or even to abruptly re-emerge with a seemingly benign, just checking in message. Their objective is to discover definitive signs that their absence is keenly felt, that you continue to grieve, that you patiently await their potential return. Yet, when a man reaches out, anticipating a reflection of your distress, and instead witnesses your unabated thriving, a state of vibrancy that transcends any perceived suffering, oh my friends, that sight casts a bewilderment upon him unlike anything else. This, precisely, is why you should never squander a precious moment striving to instill regret in the one who wronged you. Your only imperative is to ensure that when his gaze invariably drifts in your direction, what he beholds is a woman who has magnificently elevated her very essence. Invest your precious energy into the crucible of self-improvement. Embrace physical well-being not from a place of vengeance, but from a profound and enduring love for your own vessel, honoring it with mindful care. Pursue your grandest aspirations with an even greater fervor, not to incite jealousy, but because the very unfolding of your future demands such an infusion of dedicated energy. Refine your aesthetic, sharpen your inherent confidence, and deliberately cultivate a circle of individuals who genuinely affirm and uplift your intrinsic worth. For when you make this sacred investment in yourself, when you generously pour your essence into the rich soil of your own personal growth, you quite naturally transform into a being who commands deep respect, often without needing to utter a single commanding word. And what miraculous transformations unfold when you commit to this sacred glow-up. Suddenly, he may find himself revisiting faded memories, recalling with striking clarity precisely what drew him to you in the nascent stages of your connection. A profound realization may dawn upon him, that he took something exceedingly precious, something remarkably rare, for granted. It transcends mere external transformation. It is profoundly about the very frequency, the ethereal energy you now embody and broadcast to the world. A woman who truly knows her intrinsic value navigates the world with a different stride, speaks with a different cadence. She never descends to the act of begging for love, for she has cultivated an inner magnet that effortlessly draws it towards her. And when he witnesses this, when he truly comprehends that you have entirely detached yourself from the erroneous notion that his presence was an essential component of your happiness, a sense of utter disorientation overtakes him. He simply will not comprehend what course of action to take. This, my friends, is why the act of choosing self-elevation, of consciously glowing up, holds such transformative potency. Its essence is not rooted in him, but solely and profoundly in you. It is the audacious decision to rise into a state of heightened being rather than to sink into the morass of pain. It is an affirmation, not to him, but to your innermost self, that you possess more than ample sufficiency, entirely on your own. For the undeniable truth is this: there is no force in the human experience more intrinsically attractive than a woman who radiates an unbothered tranquility, who embraces her truth without apology, and who remains an unstoppable force in her relentless pursuit of a life meticulously designed for her highest good. And when a man at last apprehends that he was never, at any juncture, the primary source of your deepest joy, it is then that the true magnitude of his loss fully registers within his soul. It is a common expectation that when one has caused hurt, they will be met with theatrical drama, with fiery anger, with a visible and immediate emotional response that affirms their continued influence over your emotional state. This expectation becomes a silent pronouncement. I still have a hold on your heart. This is precisely why, when one commits a wrong against you, the most extraordinarily potent maneuver you can possibly employ is to consciously embrace peace. This is not born of weakness, nor is it an act of evasion of confrontation. Rather, peace, in its quiet, unwavering form, is the singular response for which he is utterly unprepared. When you maintain a steadfast calm in the very face of blatant disrespect, when you resolutely decline to be pulled into the maelstrom of chaos he attempts to introduce into your life, it precipitates a profound and unsettling shift within his psyche. It compels him, in ways he never intended, to scrutinize his own actions. It is a fundamental misconception to believe that men deeply introspect or arrive at profound realizations of their missteps when confronted with a torrent of accusations or lengthy textual expositions detailing your pain. However, when you deliberately step back, when you meticulously detach your energy, when you cease engaging in any manner whatsoever, that ensuing silence itself becomes a powerful catalyst. It inexorably forces him to confront his own actions and sit with the often uncomfortable weight of his decisions. A man will forever carry the imprint of the woman who walked away with her dignity firmly intact, far more vividly than the memory of one who pleaded, who argued tirelessly, or who desperately sought to validate her worth to him. The one who simply withdrew her essence, allowing her resolute absence to speak an irrefutable truth, leaves an indelible mark. This is because peace, to a man accustomed to wielding control, is profoundly unsettling. When he can no longer entice you into his personal drama, when he witnesses your unwavering commitment to not seeking him for any form of resolution, his perception of power begins to unravel. And nothing creates more confusion for a man than the abrupt realization that he no longer has access to the very emotions he once manipulated with such ease. When you deliberately choose peace, you instigate a complete reversal of the prevailing dynamic. Instead of being relegated to a state of reaction, you ascend to a plane of intentionality. Instead of expending precious energy in attempting to prove your worth to another, you reaffirm that inherent value to your own being. And in that conscious act, something profoundly liberating unfolds. You grant yourself an incomparable freedom. You shed the burdensome weight of striving to alter a person who evinced no genuine inclination towards change. You cease pouring your invaluable life force into an individual who callously took you for granted. Instead, you redirect that potent energy back into the very core of your being, into the sacred process of your own healing, into the vibrant flourishing of your personal happiness. And here is the most astonishing realization. When a man witnesses your serene discovery of profound peace, a tranquility achieved entirely without his involvement, it compels him to question everything he believed he knew. He begins to grapple with perplexing questions. Why is she not consumed by anger? Why is there no relentless fight for reconciliation? Why does she no longer pursue my attention with such fervor? It is in this profound absence of expected turmoil that the shattering realization finally descends upon him. You have gracefully moved on. You have uncovered a truth infinitely grander than his transient validation. You have rediscovered and firmly anchored yourself. Choosing peace, let it be understood, is not a tacit admission of indifference, nor does it imply a suppression of genuine hurt. On the contrary, it signifies a profound depth of self-respect, a conscious decision to disallow the actions of another to pilfer the sanctuary of your own inner joy. It is an unshakable faith that what is authentically intended for you will never demand that you beg, chase, or compromise the inviolable essence of your dignity. And when you attain mastery over this profound inner alignment, you become truly unassailable. For a peaceful woman is a formidable force, one who no longer permits any external influence to disrupt the pure and enduring love she holds for her own being. It is a common human inclination, when wounded, to yearn for some form of retribution, a desire to vividly illustrate the magnitude of one's loss, to ensure a palpable regret in the heart of the one who inflicted the pain. This belief holds that such an act of reciprocated suffering might somehow usher in a sense of closure. Yet, the profound truth I observe is that seeking revenge rarely heals. Instead, it binds you ever more tightly to the very source of your breakage, tethering you to a negative energetic resonance. And the longer you remain ensnared within that orbit of vengeance, the more protracted your own journey toward genuine peace becomes. When an injustice befalls you, the instinctive surge might indeed be to retaliate, to demonstrably prove that you remain unbroken. You might envision a meticulously crafted social media post designed to ignite envy, or a carefully orchestrated flirtation merely to underscore a point, or even a direct effort to inflict upon them the very same hurt they bestowed upon you. However, in its most naked truth, such actions merely broadcast that they retain a lingering dominion over your inner state. For if you were genuinely disengaged, if your soul had truly soared beyond their impact, you would find yourself utterly unburdened by the need for vindication, too deeply immersed in the vibrant current of your own life. The genuine display of strength, the ultimate mark of quiet power, is peace. This peace is not born of feebleness, nor does it imply a tacit absolution of their actions. Rather, it emanates from a profound recognition that your energy, your invaluable spiritual currency, is far too precious to squander upon an individual who, in their original state, failed to truly value it. When you deliberately embrace peace, you repossess the very reins of your existence. You make the unshakable decision that the deeds of another shall never again dictate the rhythm of your happiness. You make an affirmative choice to prioritize your own well-being, to meticulously safeguard your mental and emotional sanctuary, and to walk away gracefully, divested of any lingering resentment. And allow me to assure you, this very conduct is precisely what disorients and profoundly confuses the one who mistakenly believed they possessed the ultimate power to inflict lasting damage upon you. For individuals frequently anticipate a predictable torrent of emotion, fury, bitterness, a subtle streak of vindictiveness. These are the responses for which they have steeled themselves. But when you conspicuously withhold that expected reaction, when you resolutely refuse to engage, when you disallow their actions to dislodge your focus from your own chosen path, a ripple of questioning begins to stir within them. They begin to ponder with genuine bewilderment. Why is she so untouched? Why does she not feel compelled to prove a point? Why is she not ensnared in the very same tangled drama she was supposed to become a part of? It is at this critical juncture that the profound realization dawns upon them. They never held the degree of control over your spirit they so confidently presumed. Choosing peace is not an act of denying your intrinsic feelings or an attempt to masquerade unaffectedness. Rather, it is a conscious and empowering declaration that your healing journey transcends the need to cling to corrosive negativity. It is an intuitive understanding that what is truly destined for you will never demand that you sacrifice or diminish your essential self. It is the brave and generous act of creating sacred space within your life for more resonant, beautiful connections by deliberately releasing those individuals who, at their core, do not deserve a place within that sanctity. For in the final accounting, true power does not reside in the pursuit of retribution. It flourishes in the profound inner knowing that you have decisively distanced yourself from something that ceased to serve your highest good, and that you did so without ever casting a glance back. And when you move with such resolute intention, when you carry yourself with this inherent grace rather than succumbing to the currents of anger, you don't merely heal, you spectacularly ascend. That, my dear ones, is a pinnacle of evolution that many may never even begin to fathom. There is a prevalent illusion amongst some, a pervasive belief in the boundless nature of time. Time to toy with affections, time to take heartfelt connection for granted, time to conveniently reappear whenever the inclination strikes. They labor under the assumption that irrespective of their conduct, your steady presence will remain an unchanging beacon in their lives, patiently awaiting, nurturing faint hopes, stubbornly clinging to the improbable notion that someday they will finally mature and awaken to the value of your being. What remains hidden from their sight, however, is a fundamental truth grasped only by a truly wise woman, one deeply attuned to her own intrinsic worth. She does not stand idle, passively awaiting anyone else to unilaterally determine when she is worthy of rightful treatment. She operates not from a ledger of infinite chances, nor does she passively dream of a day he will awaken to truly comprehend her immense value. On the contrary, she has already embarked upon her forward trajectory, often having progressed considerably before he even begins to grasp the profound nature of what he has forfeited. This, my friends, is the seismic shift that truly shakes a man to his core. The dawning comprehension that you were never merely an option in the vast array of possibilities. You were, unequivocally, the singular opportunity. And rather than descending into pleas for better treatment, rather than striving to prove yourself deserving of his affection, you simply and powerfully repossessed your own inherent strength. Observe this common pattern. A man often expects to depart and return at his whimsy, convinced that even if he causes distress, his return is always assured because, within the confines of his own mind, he is convinced that you will forever harbor a soft spot for him. More often than not, this assumption, unfortunately, proves true until a woman with clear resolve finally decrees that this particular game has run its course. It is at this precise moment that the entire dynamic shatters and an almost primal panic begins to set in. A man who perpetually believes he holds all the time in the world will invariably treat you with an insidious indifference, taking your very presence for granted. But a man who suddenly comprehends that his window of opportunity has definitively closed